Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
It's raining tropes in Voot Select's latest original series, London Files. From director Suchin and writer Pratik Payodi, the 6-episode crime thriller set in London follows Om Singh, played by Arjun Rampal, a tortured detective tasked with solving the murder of a young girl. All fingers point to her shade-fest of a dad, a prominent politician played by a brief but effective Purab Kohli, who's spearheading a controversial anti-immigration bill. The seemingly straightforward homicide case unravels into a wider conspiracy, forcing Om to confront his own demons and tragic past. What strikes you almost immediately is there's a distinct sense of competence to the series and its use of the London setting, which doesn't feel entirely pointless or cringy. London Files also benefits from the simple fact that we've seen this kind of show done terribly so many times before that just the fact that this one feels one notch above that immediately makes you want to sit up and take notice. The core beats of setting up the central mystery work well and hit all the necessary notes. The moody atmosphere, the unraveling investigation, and the self-destructive tortured hero who is himself in need of saving. Brought to life by a well-cast Arjun Rampal as a man who can't come out from under his pain. In terms of the story, London Files is as unoriginal as they come. A by-the-book murder mystery which reminds you of everything from Mayor of Easttown to Broadchurch to True Detective. You could literally make a list of every sad detective trope in the book, and this show has got them. The personal life in pieces, the case that takes him down a rabbit hole, forcing him to confront his past, the clues that only he can see. It's even got cliched moments like, "We've got the wrong guy," and the hardened police chief who says, "I'm tired of covering for you, hand in your badge and gun." It reminds me of the subgenre of Indian movies that His Holiness, film critic Bharadwaj Rangan, coined. The Hollywood film made for Bollywood audiences who don't watch Hollywood films, made by Bollywood filmmakers who aren't interested in making Bollywood films. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the conventions, the cliches, and the familiarity as long as they come together in a well-told story. But after a promising setup, the show's grip on you starts to slacken and it comes apart under the weight of bland material. Murder mysteries demand clever writing to devise a mystifying, twisty set of events that piece together into a larger, coherent story. But here the promising investigation story and some of the great twists, like when you find out the full extent of Om's tragic past and what actually happened to his son, get drowned out in messier ambitions in a show that's also trying to bake in politics and the plight of immigrants and a grand conspiracy and even a secret underground cult. By which I mean they're literally underground, because I guess like if they were above ground and met at like a Starbucks, that's not a cult, that's just like a group hang. Also, you could literally play a great drinking game here. Do a shot every time someone on the show says the word immigrants. You'll be passed out by the second episode. What you're left with then is a series that's never unwatchable but rarely compelling. Without the necessary urgency, tension, and cliffhangers to keep you hooked, you really start to feel the length and your mind starts to wander and notice other things. Like all the instances where the show loses all sense of geographic logic and seems to forget it's set in the UK. For one, the victim Maya is a young girl brought up in the UK who of course has an Indian accent. Or there's the creepy cult leader played by an earnest but miscast Gopal Dutt who again speaks to his British followers in Hindi. Or my personal favourite, a scene where Arjun Rampal's Om has a legit emotional breakdown about his many issues to his Russian therapist, again, all in Hindi. Also, why must all cops in these shows be tortured and struggling with their own demons? Are stable, well-behaved, well-adjusted human beings just like terrible detectives? So does that mean like when you go for a detective job interview, do they look at your qualification or like all the emotional traumatic shit you've been through? Like do they just read your CV and be like, just one divorce? Just come back when you've had at least 3. Also, how come detectives have all the necessary stationery to make that big mystery mind map board they make with all the strings and maps and pictures and question marks? What if they run out of string? Do they go to the stationery shop? These are all actual thoughts I had while waiting for something to happen. In the last episode, Om makes an emotionally charged speech as he tries to reason with a cult member bad guy and make them see the error of their ways while also reflecting on the kind of father he was. It's a grand culmination of the show's many threads. And the only thing truly impressive about the scene is just how disengaged and uninterested I was. You can watch London Files on Voot Select.